Welcome to the Desert OnDeck podcast with your hosts, Santi'd and Zadar.
Hey there, y'all. Welcome back to Desert OnDeck. A different kind of episode tonight, as of course, no Zadar tonight. Issues stopped plague that, so we've had to pivot a bit. So it's only me tonight. So we're gonna talk about what's been going on in the world of baseball lately, which has been spring training. Spring training finally started, and to tell you that the storylines coming out of spring training have been interesting is a understatement. One of the bigger news stories was that the Brewers had Jacob Misiorowski throw a very, very fast fastball, super fast fastball, one of the fastest in the game. They decided to let him throw an apple. They decided to let him throw a ball at an apple, and that's obviously the biggest news of spring training. And honestly, I can't think of anything else that's been happening in spring training lately. So, anyways, besides that, a lot of blowout games lately in spring training. Here in spring training, one of the first games of the season was a blowout. Tigers got blown out big time by the Yankees. Dodgers blew out the Angels big time. And we're going to talk about the Angels later on in this. But let's talk about recent things that was said by multiple players in the league. Recently, there have been recent interviews with two players, Jazz Chisholm Jr., second baseman for the New York Yankees, and center fielder for the Cubs, Pico Armstrong. So Jazz Chisholm Jr. Was asked by the media on whether he would want to join the Dodgers, and he, of course, had said that he would rather be on the Angels, saying that he would rather, build a roof with himself instead of, being with the Dodgers super team, which obviously, a lot of players recently, and I'll say this, a lot of players recently have been praising the Dodgers lately, talking about how great, or how good the Dodgers have, how the Dodgers have been great for baseball. But of course, we all know why. It's because of the player salaries, and of course, it's gonna be a crazy 2027 once the players and the league have to discuss, and there is going to be a lockout in 2027. I can tell you all right now. This is gonna get ugly. But is it gonna be like quick and easy to the point? Is one side gonna come on top, or is it gonna be long and dragged out? I hope that this is more like what happened in 2022, and it doesn't result in any like a major amount of baseball being missed. Of course, because we love baseball here. We couldn't live without baseball. And also, like, it's just bad for the sport in general. That kills all the momentum that baseball's been getting lately with the popularity of Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani mainly, and then of course the Blue Jays' recent run. Let's not forget that when the Blue Jays made their run to the World Series, that viewership in Canada went up because Canada was starting to ride behind the Blue Jays, and the World Series was like one of like the highest viewed sporting events this year, and of course behind the Super Bowl, because Super Bowl's the Super Bowl. But very, very crazy numbers for the thing, because it was the Blue Jays, another country, Canada, and the Dodgers, who are the latest super team in baseball, and apparently ruining baseball. And talking about the Dodgers, that brings me back to my other point that I was just talking about. We're going to talk about Pico Armstrong. He had a interview with Chicago something magazine. I forgot what the magazine name was, but he had an interview with them recently, and he drew shade at Dodger fans. Of course, as a Dodger fan, I took big offense, but in all seriousness, he has a point. Some Dodger fans, and I'm gonna be straight up with y'all. Dodger fans are very diverse. There's a very diverse group of people. There's going to be people that are going to care a lot about the game, like me and like Zadar. We care a lot about the game, but I'm not denying that there are people that go to Dodger games that just go to take photos and then leave after, like the sixth inning. But like, that's what's like cool about baseball, is that baseball has multiple diverse fan bases, right? Like, I bet there are many like teams that have some fans that go just to have a good time, take a photos, then leave. It's that's always going to happen with sports teams, right? And I understand what Pico Armstrong's talking about, right? And of course, like, I think, honestly, to me, I think the players talking smack about the Dodgers, I think it's better for the sport than the players are talking good about the Dodgers. Because in my opinion, baseball needs a villain, right? And the Dodgers are the villains. There's no like sugarcoating it. The Dodgers are the villains. No matter how much us LA fans want to act like we are the people, like we deserve this, right? That we, because we were called chokers and Mickey Mouse rings. That was the big thing about the Dodgers, and now the Dodgers are breaking baseball. So it's going to be very interesting, coming from Pete Armstrong. So that just brings up a quote. And then of course Dodger fans rally, got mad at that. Some of them brought up how the Cubs fans, for most of the time, were just there just to have a good time and drink, right? But the Cubs was a miserable organization before they had their kind of resurgence in the middle 2010s, before they broke the curse and won the World Series in 2016. And now the Cubs are contenders now, and they have great talent. It's a very talented team, and I'm really excited to see how they go, especially with them getting Alex Bergman. So that's why I love that both these two called out the Dodgers, or basically talked a little bit of smack about the Dodgers. Now, whether they have hate in the soul for the Dodgers, it's probably not that. But I feel like this, like, I think it's good. I think it's good that like Dodger fans and Dodger, like the team itself, are getting shots fired at them. I think it's good for the sport. I think back in the 2000s, I bet if you have someone that was born in the 2000s during the Yankees like couple dynasties on the 90s, I bet like they probably hated the Yankees, but people wanted to go see them be in the World Series, and they wanted to see them lose in the World Series because it was just that big of a deal for them to lose and stuff. So I feel like that's why the Dodgers being the big super team now is really good for the sport. But that gets me to my other thing. Recently, spring training games have been happening, and of course, the young rookies and the young prospects are coming up, and they're showing off. Here's a statistic that I saw. The Dodgers have not hit a home run in any of their games over the spring training, but they are 6-0 as of the recording of this. They are 6-0. They have not lost a game in Cactus League play. It is crazy how this Dodgers team has not hit a long ball yet, and they're still scoring runs, and they don't score like tiny amounts. They've scored like in the double digits most of the time in these games. And I think if you're a Dodger fan, this is good. This is a good sign, right? Now, of course, it's spring training, so stuff's going to change. And to be honest, these people are hitting against minor leaguers, but it's encouraging to see that these hitters are hitting for the just to get the ball in play. And I think that's like really important to keep the be able to hit the ball and play, because hitting long balls is, you can't always hit home runs. You can't hit long balls, right? So I think it's good for any team, not just the Dodgers, but for any team to get really good at contact hitting. And a team that was really good at just getting contact were like the Blue Jays. They were really locked in on that. And like, I think honestly, I think that was my biggest takeaway, of course, from watching these Dodgers games. Because um, if I had an MLB TV subscription or if I had to log in, I would probably be paying attention to more games. But of course, I'm limited with my stuff, so I've been keeping an eye on the Dodgers. I am trying to keep my best eye on every other spring training thing. I really am. Um, so I'm really trying my best to try and keep up so we can give y'all the best info on baseball. Um, Next up that I need to talk about here, um, we're gonna talk about some quickie little highlights right from spring training before I get on to a point that I really want to talk about. Um, so recently the Dodgers. I'm gonna go back to the Dodgers. No, just real quick. Ain't gonna be too long. Dodgers. Two pitchers from the Dodgers have came back from actually three. Yeah, Kyle Hurt, Gavin Stone, and River Ryan have now been pitching in Cactus League play. Glad to see them back. Kyle Hurt most likely gonna start in the minors to kick off the year. And Gavin Stone and River Ryan are fighting for that sixth spot in the rotation. And I have a bold idea to have a 7-man rotation, but I will probably have a conversation about that on a later day. So, coming up along with that, Pete Alonso hit a long ball in his debut as an Oriole. So I found that really, really cool. It's gonna take some time to get used to watch Alonso be in anything that isn't a Mets uniform. But of course, hey, we take it. You know what? Hey, that's the beauty of free agency. Yankees. Aaron Judge went long in his first game in spring training in a blowout against the Tigers. That's promising, but once again, spring training, lots gonna happen. During the Giants Cubs game, the alarm went off. Yes, the emergency fire alarm went off, and it low key interrupted the game. And I'm not wrong, because if you paid attention, when Robbie Ray, who was the pitcher while that whole situation was going on, he did not draw a strike while the alarm was on. And then once the alarm went on, he started pitching well again. So, of course, something to keep an eye on. That maybe some teams are going to start playing the alarm when the Giants are in town. So, that's something to keep an eye on. But apparently, from what I've heard, and I've done my research, but this is not truth and factual, so do not take this with a grain of salt. But according to something, I think someone lit a cigarette and it set off a smoke alarm, and then that's why the whole alarm was out. All right. Of course, Giants go on to win that game. Let me check. I think they won that game. Yes, they did win. 4-2 was the final score in that Cubs Giants game. Even after the whole fire alarm situation, and as a Dodger fan, I don't want to say this, but that Jong-Hoo Lee has an arm. That kid is a hell of a player, and I don't like how he's in our division, but that kid is a stud. And of course, the Giants, I feel like, got a little bit better this off season, so that's a team to keep an eye on. That NL West getting dangerous again. Sasaki had a recently pitched, and went only one inning. Well, 1.1 inning. 1.1. He faced two batters in the top of the second. But Sasaki gave up 3 runs. I think he gave up 3 runs. He gave up 3 hits. Let's see. He gave up 3 hits. I know that. He gave up 3 hits, struck out 3. Gave up 3. Let me check. Yes, he gave up 3 runs, gave up 3 hits, and struck out 3. But he walked 2. That's something to keep an eye on. But it's obviously spring training. I feel like Sasaki's definitely, a little bit, worried. Probably got a little bit nervous coming into that start. So we're not going to blame him too much for that. The kid's still young. That's fine. Now it's go time for us to understand why the Angels are so miserable. The Angels are so miserable. The Rockies commentators are talking smack about them. Do you know how bad you gotta be where the worst team in baseball right now is talking smack about your team? So let's talk about the Angels. Recently, their owner, Artie Moreno, had an interview. And this has been going like wildfire. So here on Desert OnDeck, we had to bring this up. And I just have to bring this up. It's one of the biggest topics in spring training. Me and Zadar literally joke about this. This is how big it is, right? The Angels have not been a good team since Albert Pujols and prime Mike Trout. And even Albert Pujols wasn't even that good for them, but he was coincidentally on the team when they last made the playoffs 2014. They won the AL West, and ever since then, they haven't won. And, here's what Artie Moreno basically said. He said that winning is not a top 5 priority for Angels fans. This is a real thing that he said. Let me read this out for you. Let me read what he said. This is according to what he said. He said that the Angels fans, they want affordability, they want safety, and they want a good experience when they come to the ballpark. And he said, believe it or not, winning is not in the top 5. Do you know how inconfident of an owner you have to be? Well, you have deluded yourself to the point that you think that your fans do not think winning is a top 5 priority. I've been to Angel Stadium, right? And it's a very affordable ballpark. But it's not for the best reason. It's not because, the fans wanted to be affordable. The reason why Angels games are so affordable is because the team sucks. And no one wants to go. Not even Angels fans. Because if you have a bad team, fans are not going to show up. So this just shows that, maybe Artie Moreno, that maybe winning is a top 5 priority. But you know what? I'm not an Angels owner. But if I was, I'd probably show off, because he also said that he got this from a fan survey, but he won't quite talk about the fan survey, He's not going to quite talk about it, He's not really talking about it. He said, nope, we're not talking about it. No comment on that. So that's interesting. So I'm having a feeling that it just doesn't exist, that survey, and he just pulled something out of his butt. Artie Moreno is like a whole other topic that we could talk about here. But that's basically it for me from spring training. Unless I remember something while I'm talking about this next part. Let's talk about the World Baseball Classic. It's a week away. Here on Desert OnDeck, we are so excited. We are so excited to bring you nonstop content. We're going to try. I'm going to try. Zador's definitely... Me and Zador are going to lock in. We're going to try and give you the best amount of content we can get during the World Baseball Classic, because it's just a big tournament and it's really great. So let's talk about some World Baseball Classic news. Paul Skeens is going to pitch 2 games in the World Baseball Classic, and Derek Screwball is only going to pitch 1 game. Now, I've seen some people get mad about this, but I don't think they realize that, the World Baseball Classic is not that long. It's like, because it's a bracket, so you win a game, you move on to the next thing, get that, boom, 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 right? And it's not like Screwball only pitching 1 game is going to be the end of the world for Team USA. They have Paul Skeens still, and he's guaranteed to pitch 2, at least from what he's said, or from what I've heard. He's going to pitch 2 games. And of course, they have Joe Ryan, and they have, the go Clay Kershaw pitching out there, Kershaw, Kurt still got it, you know what I mean? You see that, like, extra inning, when he went out in extra innings, and he got that, please ignore that the count was 3-2, Kershaw would never give up a home run to, like, Murakami in, like, the 9th inning to cause, like, a walk-off home run in, like, the finals. No, not Kershaw. No, not Kershaw. Kershaw still got it. Basically, I do not understand the outrage for Derek Screwball just wanting to pitch 1 game. I feel like it's, I think it's reasonable, and, of course, because even during games, even during this, there's going to be rest days. The pitchers have to have rest days. So I feel like he might, even logistically, even if he wanted to pitch the full thing, he's probably only going to pitch once, maybe twice. So that's coming out of USA. Nothing else has really came out. World Baseball Classic starts in a week. We are going to try and keep you up with that, a lot of content there. So that basically ends the baseball stuff. Alright, so we finished that. So let's get on to the outside sports. NBA's NBAing, NHL's NHLing, NFL's doing nothing because all the thing that Super Bowl's done. NASCAR is going to Circuit of the Americas this week. That's basically it. Oh, big lawsuit with JGR and their former crew chief of Denny Hamlin, who jumped over the spires. So that's something to keep an eye on if you're a NASCAR fan. F1 starts March 8th, so that's going to be very exciting for any F1 fans out there. And the UFL, I think it's going to start again soon. World Baseball Classic, of course, is going to be there. Olympics just ended. USA won a couple medals. Go USA. And so, not only that, there's no sport going on. Oh, come on. It's not the NBA Finals. No. Oh! March Madness is coming around the corner soon. So, March Madness. How did I forget March Madness, man? Anyways, this is a Santi'd exclusive episode of Desert OnDeck. Hopefully, next week, Zadar will be here. Sorry for the late episode. You know, Spectrum's been a hell of a friend. And I'll catch y'all on the peace side. So, peace. God loves you, unless you're a fat kid named Kennedy. Sayonara.
This has been the Desert OnDeck podcast. Stay cool and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.